And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news and share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you are listening anywhere else and you would like to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That's at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat, and you can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, as well as Rumble. And that would be Coffee Talk 2 with the number 2, being joined today by two felines. I've got Granny Smith over here doing God knows what, and then Miss Kitty, who is a lap cat today for the moment until she gets annoyed and then disappears herself, because that's how she rolls. As always, I do read through as many of the comments as is reasonable, and I'll say hello to some of the people that have chimed in so far to say hello today. I see Bob is with us, as well as 200B, Helter, Dragon, Jimmy Slim, Ace is here, Brian is here, Jeff, Tuck, Kimberly, Fluke Man, Puck, and James. So hello, everybody, and hey to everyone else who is watching but either can't or doesn't want to chime in, and that's fine. There's no roll call, no actual roll call as we get ready to jump off here. I'm sure you saw the thumbnail, and Joy Reid will be coming up because I got a couple of things to say about that and about her meltdown that she's just had recently here in the last day or so. But of course, the big thing in the news ties in with yesterday's discussion. I find this fascinating how this guy flips back and forth constantly, and that would be Voldemort Zelenskyy, as I referred to him. NA has joined us. Glad you could make it today. And we're going to pull up an article here. I think this is a CNBC article. Doesn't matter who the article is from, as long as it gets the point across, basically. And as you see, it says Trump says that Zelenskyy is to visit the U.S. to sign critical rare minerals deal this Friday. Yeah, that's right. So here we go again. U.S. President Wednesday, that is yesterday afternoon, said the Ukrainian president, oh, it's not yesterday afternoon, that's today, said Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy would visit the United States on Friday to sign a deal on critical rare earth minerals, referring to the trip as confirmed. Trump said during his first cabinet meeting, we're going to be signing an agreement which will be a very big agreement that'll be on rare earth and other things. Trump also noted the U.S. higher foreign aid contributions to the Ukraine in comparison to Europe, and said the contingent should step up and do more than they are doing. Continued financial support for Ukraine from the U.S., its biggest military backer, was already politically contentious and has appeared on the brink since Trump's return to the White House. Yeah, he doesn't want to fund that war. Trump also noted the U.S. higher foreign aid. Oh, I read that. Trump said Wednesday he was not going to give security guarantees for the Ukraine beyond very much. We're going to have Europe do that, but added that there was an automatic security from the U.S. partnership on rare earth minerals because nobody's going to be messing with our guys. Okay. Now, what's significant about this is how much Zelenskyy went off his hinges over the last couple of days, saying that this was not going to happen. There will be no deal. He's not going to negotiate for mineral rights. He's not going to pay back the United States. He's not going to enter into a deal with Washington. We read the article yesterday. Zelenskyy screaming at people. Now all of a sudden he'll be here Friday. Just like that. It's amazing how quickly these guys fall into place. It's absolutely amazing. And I see JJ has joined us. I mean, you've seen the articles and you've seen the stories. First, he says It comes out we've invested $350 billion in the Ukraine to fund a war that's going nowhere and it needs to end. Okay, fair enough. Zelenskyy denies this. He says, oh no, we only got like 177 to 200 billion. Of course, he's talking about cash and not equipment. There's a lot of, I guess, evidence, if not just rumors, that a lot of that equipment ended up in South and Central America, sold on the black market. Then Zelenskyy turns around and says that, oh, we only got 100 billion, even though he admitted it was almost twice that in cash. Then he says there's no way he'll broker a deal with Trump, and that there's no way that he'll make a deal for mineral rights in the Ukraine with the United States, and no way he's going to pay anything back. Now he's going to be here Friday to sign a contract. This is I knew a guy. I used to work with a guy who was from Africa. I think he was from Guyana, and he used to use a phrase all the time about people talking out of both sides of their mouth. I think that about sums up Zelenskyy at this point. And Raccoon says, I want to see the look on his face when Trump tells him to kick rocks. And JJ says Zelenskyy might not be in the picture much longer, especially if Ukraine can have elections. Yeah, and that's part of the thing. Because I don't think Russia wants to keep going. The United States doesn't want to keep funding it. Europe's not going to fund it if the United States doesn't. I mean, they're paying for close to half. We're paying a little bit more, I believe, in not just money, but equipment and other resources. They're not going to fund all of it. No way. So if we're out, they're going to back off. Zelenskyy must know this. Okay, you had a nice run. It's over, dude. It's over. First, he said he wasn't going anywhere. Then he said he'd be willing to resign, which was one of Trump's stipulations because he doesn't think Zelensky's a good fit. He was like, okay, get out of there. Let them hold an election. And then the parliament backs Zelenskyy. We read that yesterday, saying, oh, no, we're going to support Zelenskyy. And, we can't hold a free election because it's wartime. All right, fair enough. But if the war is turned off because a deal is reached, part of that deal is that Zelenskyy steps aside and allows for a free election. There wouldn't be a war anymore at that point. I doubt that we'll be sending them any more money or equipment. Trump doesn't like it. It's incredible. Pug says Trump needs to be careful. He's going to screw around and own Project Ukraine and its predictable failure. Yeah, it's possible. And All People says that the African associate got his quip from an old Slavic saying. It could be. He just liked to say it a lot. We all have our thing. But that was his deal. He used to like to say that, oh, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. Okay. Indeed. But I think there's a lot of double talk coming out of Zelenskyy. And it'd be interesting to see if he does indeed stop the war in Ukraine, if Trump is instrumental in putting a complete end to it. That'll be interesting. And I'll be curious to see what people have to say about that if that happens. It looks like that's about to happen here within the next few weeks. It'd be interesting to see what happens or what people will have to say if it does. Because, I hear all the naysayers, and I've gotten tons of it in the comments for the last couple of months, okay? First, it was, what's going to happen when Trump becomes president and doesn't shut down the border and doesn't start deporting anyone? What are you going to say then? Well, guess what? He did it, immediately, and it's been going on. What do you have to say about it? Nothing, except for the next complaint. And the next complaint was that what's going to happen when he doesn't release anybody from January 6th? What are you going to have to say about that? Well, he did. He did almost immediately and officiated it very quickly. Usually something like that takes months. He got it done fast. All right. I don't hear anybody walking it back and saying, well, gee, yeah, I guess I was wrong. No, they never do. They just move on to the next thing. They start complaining about the next thing. What's going to happen when he doesn't really do DOGE and they don't really start slashing the budget? Well, guess what? That's been ongoing. What's going to happen when he doesn't cut any DEI programs? Guess what? He has done it. So far, he's made a fairly quick and solid effort, anyways, to try to do the things that he promised he would do while he was campaigning, which, whether you like it or not, is a relief because it's been decades since anybody really did that. And Chris says, I think I had fried Zelenskyy as an appetizer, or was that zucchini? And Puck says stage 4 TDS. No kidding. And Robot says he supports unabashedly Trump and the Ukraine. But so far, he's done everything he said he's going to do. He also said that he would kibosh the Ukraine as well as what's going on in the Middle East, in the Gaza. And he is so, it looks like we're on track for the Ukraine, and he's already drawn up an idea about going into Gaza. All his ideas to bulldoze the entire area and leave it that way, which, you know what, fine, go ahead and do that. At least they won't have anything left to, well, they won't have that to fight it over anymore anyways. So time will tell. A lot has happened very quickly, and it has been a long time since we've seen a president do that. Puck says Trump's critics constantly move the goalposts. Exactly. And they don't apologize for it. At least admit you were wrong. Walk it back and say, okay, you know what? I got to take that one back. I was wrong. I had to do that with Flava Flav at the Olympics, because you remember for a couple of days when we were talking about the Olympics and what a disaster it was, I'm like, what the hell is Flava Flav doing there? And then I found out he was actually endorsing that team. He was paying for them to be there. It's like, okay, you know what? I was wrong. If he's paying for these people, he can do whatever the hell he wants. I know that's a small example by comparison, but the point is, be willing to admit, okay, you know what? Yeah, he did do it. Whether you like it or not, at least he's keeping his word, or trying to, at least so far. Flukeman says, why does it normally take years to do all that, while Trump did them almost immediately? Well, because just like when he was president the first time, he tried to go through all the channels to get things done. And evidently that doesn't work. The only thing that does work is when you kick people in the teeth, which is what he's doing now. And by the way, we're going to get back to this real quick, because this is fresh in the news again. We're going to jump to a New York Post article. This is finally coming to an end also. Dalton dictator that Tiffany Henyard destroyed in Democratic primary following scandal-ridden mayoral term. I guess she's done. The self-proclaimed super mayor is now a super loser. Loser. Dalton dictator Tiffany Henyard suffered a landslide loss. I didn't enunciate properly, in Tuesday's Democratic primary after more than a year of seedy scandals, wild antics, and haughty remarks that finally caught up to her at the ballot box. The under fire Illinois mayor finally ran into her kryptonite, voters in her own Chicago suburb that overwhelmingly picked village trustee Jason House as the Democrat nominee. With all precincts reporting, House notched 88% of the vote. Wow. That is a landslide. While Henyard gained a measly 12% according to Cook County election results. So long, Tiffany. It's been cute. It's been really cute. Oh, man. Quote, come be part of me making history once again. That's her on Facebook. She also is quoted as saying, let me make myself clear, I see no competition. And I'm calling for my base. I'm calling for all the people that love Super Mayor, who say, you support me. I need you to show up and show out. Leading up to the primary, the 40-year-old politician who was first elected in 2021 was dogged by an avalanche of damaging accusations and sordid headlines that led to constituent fury. She faced accusations of overseeing off-the-rails spending, with Dalton Village government becoming the focus of an FBI probe. And there she is again, trying to be cute. Now that she's not there to manipulate things anymore, I think they can really dig their heels into her and maybe find out what actually happened with all that money. I mean, there's already been an inquiry, and it's already been divulged that there's a lot of shady business. But maybe she'll actually get charged now that she's not there to run interference anymore. JJ said Trump's critics are the reason why we have an egg shortage, as they have egg all over their faces. Oh, there's your pun of the day. That's our Mr. Peabody moment, everyone. Who remembers Mr. Peabody from the old Rocky and Bullwinkle show? He always ended the show with a pun. Brian says Elliot Page never did apologize after being proven wrong about the whether Jesse Smollett indictment was a hoax. And Tuck likes that Henyard lost big time. Or Tuck does. And Puck says, will Tiffany's wig collection be repossessed as a result? She might have spent a lot on that. As I catch up on a couple of comments, and then we'll move on. Eric says she'll be hosting The View tomorrow. Oh, God. Yeah, I know. Have you heard the rumors again? I've been hearing rumors for about 4 or 5 years that they were going to fire Whoopi Goldberg. I wonder when they'll actually get around to it. I see League of Smoke has joined us. Glad you could make it today. But, I mean, she did a lot of shady dealings as mayor. There's a lot of money that's unaccounted for. Her Dalton County was one of the few places in Illinois, one of the few counties in Illinois that actually had a black mark in their books. That is, they had a surplus of funding for emergencies. I think they were in the black some $5.5 million, and now they're in the red, something like $10 million. So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for 4 years. Chris says, Sherman says, good pun. Yeah. Usually Sherman would say something like, oh, no, Mr. Peabody, don't, when Peabody would set it up, when he'd ask the question, oh, no, don't do it. But there's a lot of money missing. There's a lot of questionable activity. Come be part of me making history once again, she says. I'm calling for my base. I'm calling for all the people. Well, the people showed up, and the people had spoken. And the guy running against her got 88% of the vote. That is nuts. That is nuts. That is a big, big difference. Oh, and I wanted to do a shout out really quickly. I wanted to give a shout out to Bud Ugly. Bud Ugly, if you are watching, thank you very much for the help. Bud Ugly sent 2 bags of cat food to our P.O. box to help us with our shelter cats. Very much appreciated, Bud. It goes a long way. It really does, and it means a lot. I'm always grateful anytime anybody, that's why I always call them out anytime anybody makes a donation on the channel, sends something to PayPal, sends something to the box, because pretty much I know everybody does it for the cats. Everybody does it for the cats, and it's expensive. And so every little bit, man, I always want to call it out and let people know it means something. It means a lot to me. Fluke Man says, off topic here, why wouldn't face mask help to prevent spread of viruses? I understand they're not foolproof. What do you mean? You're talking about the mask that you put over your face? That's supposed to catch anything that you're exhaling. But when you inhale, it still pulls air in from around. You're not breathing really, truly through the mask. You're only breathing into it. And the typical face mask that you wear, that You know, the ones everybody has on that goes like this, is to catch particulates from the moisture from your breath so that it doesn't hang in the air. That's why that's how that works. But here we go. We're going to kick into the thumbnail here. And who has this article? I think this is Daily Caller. And hopefully it doesn't when I try to open this, because it's acting weird already. And you know I have issues with read times. But this is about Reid and her meltdown now. Her meltdown over losing her job. It says Joy Reid breaks down in tears over being canceled on MSNBC. And there she is blubbering. Okay. And I'm gonna I think I have a video clip on here, and I'll try to play some of that. It says former MSNBC, they're already calling her former MSNBC host Joy Reid broke down in tears Monday after the left-wing network canceled her primetime program, The Reidout. Reid, a known race-obsessed anchor, God, that's true, who spewed far-left talking points, received word her 7 p.m. show will be taken off the air and replaced with rotating anchors in the coming weeks. An emotional Reid addressed her firing with tears streaming down her face as she claimed that her program had value. I'm sorry, Reid began while visibly sobbing. That's what I was doing. That what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry. I try not to cry on TV, and this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. What I will just say is, where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issue of a young baby or a mom or dad that was killed. Wow, what a word salad. I don't even know if I can read all of that mess. Let me see if I can pull this, get this video clip going for you.
Let's talk about ivermectin. For decades, it's been a trusted FDA-acidic infections. But
here we go.
As a nation, Americans aren't prepared.
Give me a damn break.
The sad truth is,
and that, I'm sorry, that that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And I think this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. And that it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is that in the end, thank you. Where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of a young baby or a mom or dad that was killed, or when we opened up people's eyes to the fact that Asian Americans were being targeted.
Now, by the way, that when Americans have been targeted was by people in that community. It was by people in the so-called Black Lives Matter community. Oh my. And Marvel fan has joined us. And JJ says it's inexplicable joy, the first sign of bereavement. If so, I guess I'm sad to see her go. And Marvel fan, I said, I really hope Rachel Meadows is next, spelling the name wrong, I'm sure. Yeah. But the reason I wanted to point this out is you saw, and just like you saw in the thumbnail, and just like you saw there with her blubbering and crying, it's really tragically ironic considering how much she has made fun of other people for their tears. You can find some of the older footage of her on her racial tirades, because she really does get on a soapbox about some of that stuff. Okay? Yeah, Sven says it right there. I'll put it up. That she has gotten on her soapbox about how Karens and their fake crocodile tears and blubbering and crying for not getting their way. You can find clips of this stuff on YouTube. It's not hard to look up. white men and their tears and their crying and blubbering for not getting their way, or trying to trick people for guilt. Isn't that what she's doing now? You've mocked people for that. And here you are whining and blubbering. And I don't think she was faking it, because her voice cracked, unless she's really that good of an actress, which I doubt. And we looked her up yesterday. She's worth in excess of $21 million. She just bought an $8 million house in New York not too long ago. Okay, she owns several luxury vehicles. This woman is not hurting. She's upset because she's not going to get her way. The gravy train is slowing down here for her. And she's going to sit there and cry about it. She doesn't care about, let me put that up from all people real quick. She does not care about not being able to reach out and tell people things, unless she's got her head that far up her ass and thinks she's that high and mighty and that she's so incredibly relevant. It's almost funny to see her sitting there blubbering because of just how selfish she is and how inconsistent. You have mocked people for the same thing, and here you are crying. How many people watching have lost a job? Have you lost a job that was important and you sat there and said, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills. I'm really screwed. Did you cry and blubber and whine to people? Because I didn't. And I've been there. Granted, I wasn't making like in excess of $1 million a year, but shit. And Monkey has joined us. Armored says, who's tired of winning? Not me. Puck suggests Asians were attacked by the usual suspects. Yeah, I think it's kind of hypocritical of her to bring that up, considering who usually targets that community. Marvel fans said, we are for sure winning. It feels good. Claude says, I wonder if MSN was receiving funds to pay for employees from USAID. USAID was funding many news agencies globally. Who was it? The BBC? Something like 8%. Was it 8%? I read the article a couple of weeks ago of their funding was coming from USAID. It's like, why are we funding the BBC? That makes no freaking sense. Country says he hates it, or they hate it when work gets in the way of live streams. Well, glad you're here. Glad you're here. Sven said she has many leather-bound books. Those are props. She doesn't read those books. It's a studio. They're props. They're props. But what a hypocrite. What an incredible hypocrite to sit there and have that attitude as many times as she has insulted and mocked people, and especially, Caucasian people. Karens and white men blubber and cry to get their way or to make you feel guilty, or because they can't get what they want. And then look what happens.
My show had value, and that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And I say this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize.
Yeah, you need to
apologize.
She needs to apologize for a hell of a lot more than that. Although she wouldn't mean it. She wouldn't mean it. It had value, all right, because there was a big paycheck connected to it. Raccoon says she's so annoying. She hates white people so much that she wears a blonde wig. Well, she colors her hair blonde and she puts on all that makeup, and yeah, she does all the things that are European styles. Brian said she has so much money she doesn't need to work again. That's true. That is true. And Puck reminds us USAID trained 5,000 or 6,000 journalists. I did not read that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. But yeah, this cracks me up. It's like, you hypocrite. The irony of it, the irony to sit there and tear people down, accusing people of being crybabies and whining because they can't get their way, or to make people feel guilty. And here she is doing it. Here she is doing it. She had value. Yeah, because there was a check attached to it. It doesn't mean that it contributed anything to society, unless it was something negative to divide people even further. But currently, fortunately, the country's moving away from that right now. Right now, the United States is moving away from that type of attitude. JJ said, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't she married to a white guy? Is she? I have no idea. But let's see. Let me look it up real quick. I'll look up... let me see what he looks like. No. Jason Reid, huh? Here's her husband. Hold on a second. Let me pull up that picture, and then you can all see what I'm looking at. That is Jason. Hey, Jason, how you doing? There he is. But yeah, I mean, look at her. For someone who hates Caucasians so much, she does a lot to emulate them. The long eyelashes, the blonde straight hair in this photo, the blush on her cheeks. That's all very European modeled. Very European modeled. Sven said she had less view than the idiot Stelter. And Raccoon says, I hope the behavior panel on YouTube looks at this interview. They are body language experts. We'll see if she's truthful. Somebody will. Somebody will. And Tony is here. Glad you could make it today. Sven said, poor guy, she makes him sit down to pee. Does she? Shame on you guys. Shame on you guys. You're going to get me in trouble. You're going to get me in trouble. Poor Jason. Jason's laughing all the way to the bank. If that's all Jason's interested in. And speaking of laughing all the way to the bank, that's enough about Joy Reid. That's enough about Joy Reid. Tower Guy suggests they have the same hairdo, bald. Yeah, she just puts on a wig. He doesn't have that option, evidently. He does not have that option. We're going to jump to a Telegraph article here. Speaking of laughing all the way to the bank, we're going to bounce out of New York and we're going to land in North Korea. North Korea, as Chillin' Dave has joined us, as well as League of Smoke. Glad you could make it today. I don't know if I saw you earlier, League of Smoke. I'm losing track. The Telegraph. North Korea steals $1.5 billion as it pulls off the world's biggest ever heist. All right. Kim Jong doing the walk. Kim Jong doing the walk. Their hats are so big. They've got such big hats. I always thought that was interesting. It says state-backed North Korean hackers have stolen $1.5 billion, or 1.2 billion British pounds, of cryptocurrency in the largest heist in history. Agents from Pyongyang were able to breach the systems of Dubai-based exchange Bybit to steal the digital coin Ether, according to security analysts. The hackers stole more cryptocurrency in one attack than all the funds stolen by North Korean cyber criminals in 2024, when the rogue state cyber attacks made off with around 1.3 billion in digital coins, according to cryptocurrency analyst Chainalysis. I think that's how you pronounce it. So last year they stole 1.3 billion, but now they pulled off a 1.5 billion heist all at once. All right. The 1.5 billion total eclipses the largest known bank theft of all time, when Saddam Hussein stole $1 billion from the Iraqi central bank ahead of the war in 2003. The record haul comes as Kim Jong-un, North Korea's supreme leader, turns to elite units of computer hackers to prop up the communist dictatorship's failing economy. Chainalysis said the attack served as a stark reminder of the advanced tactics employed by the country's hackers, as well as technical skills. North Korean hackers are adept at what is known as social engineering, manipulating people to do what they want in order to pave the way for a heist. This can involve developing relationships with targets over email and digital chats, sometimes over a period of months. That's why you don't talk to people online directly too much if you can help it. Cybersecurity experts believe North Korea's notorious Lazarus Group are the masterminds behind the latest attack. The group has terrorized Western businesses for more than a decade with a series of cyber breaches that have caused billions of dollars in losses. Incredible. And Genghis says billion with a B. Correct. Chillin wants to know how you can steal imaginary money. The same way you steal any of it. It's all imaginary now when it's digital. It's like breaking into a bank account online and taking money. The money's not really there. And Puck says, we're the Bitcoin fans. I don't know. And Monkey says, and they're turning the stolen Ethereum to Bitcoin, which as of right now is 1 BTC is 84,000. That's down. That's actually down currently. And I'll throw that up there from all people here really quick. So, biggest heist technically in history. It says the Lazarus Group has also been blamed for a near $1 billion heist from a Bangladeshi bank in 2016 and the global WannaCry cyber attack, which knocked hundreds of thousands of computers offline with damaging ransomware, including NHS systems. Bangladesh, I didn't know Bangladesh had a big heist like that. I don't know. I wonder then if that was cryptocurrency or just regular currency then that was stolen via wire exchange. It says North Korea started using cyber attacks for espionage, stealing R&D and intellectual properties. Subsequently, they have really capitalized on it as a source of revenue. So their main source of revenue is hacking. Fantastic. All people says, how is Bitcoin not the exact same thing as fiat? Well, because fiat still has a physical representation. Because you can still hold a dollar bill in your hand and spend it. With Bitcoin, there is nothing. And they want us to get to that point with fiat. Monkey says, so it's practically a sale to buy right now. I work in the crypto industry, but more on the repair side of things. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I should do data. I can't afford to do data mining. Data mine and make all this extra cash out of nowhere. I don't know. Does anybody make any money data mining anymore for cryptocurrency? Or are too many people doing it? I know the servers can be expensive and they use a lot of power. Chillin says nobody in North Korea can use the internet except for the government. Pretty much. I think that's how it goes. The nature of the cryptocurrency industry, which is virtually unregulated, has made it a haven for cyber attackers to launder funds. I don't agree with that. If we got to pay taxes on the sale of it, it's regulated and heavily. Okay? Don't tell me it's not regulated. It's regulated. It's regulated. And as far as laundering, when people really want to launder money, they set up a book deal or they do a Disney film. That's how you launder money in the modern age. That's how you launder in the modern age. So, biggest heist in history, courtesy of North Korea. And we all know that it goes on, and nobody does anything about it. And the reason that nobody does anything about it is because they're protected by China, and nobody wants to fight with China because they're too damn big. At least not until their real estate bubble explodes and they face bankruptcy as a nation, which eventually could happen. They've invested way too much in real estate. They've got that whole city. They recreated Paris. Just as one example, look this up. They recreated Paris. It should hold a couple of million residents, I think. I'm trying to remember because I watched a thing on it not too long ago. And nobody's there. Nobody lives. It literally looks like Paris. Eiffel Tower and everything. Nobody lives there. They've got major cities that can hold hundreds of thousands and even millions of people all over China that they thought they were going to put people in, and nobody lives there. Those cities are falling apart from lack of maintenance. It's a massive loss of investment. Monkey says, yeah, graphics card from the PC is not worth it. Better for the altcoins. If you really wanted to get into it, you basically need, in my opinion, a minimum of 50,000. Yeah, see? That's what I figured. Monkey says, since the BTC mining units can get pricey. And Kimberly said, don't forget the sales of worthless art. Oh, yeah, a lot of money laundered that way. Exactly. Like the stupid banana that got $6 million. And I'm not supposed to think that's money laundering. $6 million on bids. Incredible. Incredible. As we move here to a Fox News article, and we're going to jump from North Korea to California. So not that much of a difference, politically speaking. California college students demand the university remove financial aid barriers for illegal immigrants. Since when are there barriers to education for illegal immigrants in California? Just asking. University of California, San Diego students demanded their school's administrators remove the financial aid barriers for illegal immigrants. Quote, we're here because people in our own classrooms are living in fear, one UCSD student told protesters, according to the UCSD Guardian. Some students can't even apply for financial aid or campus jobs because of their immigration status. That's unacceptable at a public university that claims to be inclusive. And then he pissed his pants. Around 200 students gathered to protest the Trump administration's deportation efforts and demand that the university take action to protect illegal immigrants. Why? So they can be closed down? The UCSD Associated Students Senate developed a resolution pressuring the UCSD administrators to take action. The action they need to take is to suspend these students for wasting the school's time. The resolution passed on Wednesday last week wants the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs and Campus Life to remove financial barriers for undocumented students, which would entail expanding grants for the professional development of undergraduate undocumented students, guaranteeing in-state tuition protections for undocumented students, and eliminating hidden fees and costs that disproportionately affect students without access to federal financial aid. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is incredible. Craig says, on behalf of all Europeans, I hope Trump demands the citizens of Europe have free speech legislated into law before Trump signs any trade deals. We need this to break the hold of the socialists. I don't blame you, Craig. And it could be. Another one I had mentioned earlier, or I neglected, I should say, to mention earlier when I was talking about the things that they say that Trump was never going to do that happened anyways, was the tariffs. Oh, he ain't going to do that. And then when he did impose tariffs, they were like, oh, he's going to blow it. It's going to backfire. Yeah. You saw what happened. They didn't even last a day. They didn't even last 24 hours before Mexico, Canada, and Finland even broke down and came to the table. Oh, wait, please don't do this. Even China, even Beijing kowtowed to it. Like, oh, no, wait, let's talk. And that's why the tariffs are, for the most part, on hold. And yeah, it's a point there, Craig, that if he does that to the European Union, I bet you they'll fold up pretty quick too. And Puck says gold and silver coins don't require huge server farms like cyber currency does. True. And Jimmy doesn't understand how you mine crypto. Isn't it just ones and O's? Yes, negatives and positive. You can read a lot into it. It doesn't make much sense, but somehow it works. Monkey could probably explain it better than I could. I have a general understanding, but I don't know if I can really hammer it out here. And Tuck says, demand. I had neighbors from Mexico. The government only has public schools up to grade 10 for free. Students must pay tuition for 11th and 12th grade. Yeah. Again, if you are a foreign student, you can get a visa to attend college in the United States and get financial aid. You can do all that legally. They should not be funding illegal immigrants to go to colleges and universities. And by the way, did they not read the story about the terrorists that received U.S. aid funding to attend college that's been discovered just recently? Monkey said Trump recently said they can forget Ukraine joining NATO. NATO needs to go away. It's no longer functional. It's no longer useful. But here we go. College students in California crying about how the college is unfair and somehow the college needs to fight back against Trump and protect illegal immigrants. Why don't you do that, college students? Why don't you protect them? Keep them in your home. You pay for their tuition. How about that? You pay for their housing and their food and their clothing instead of trying to force someone else to do it. Why don't we go down that route? Why don't you go down that route? Why don't we try that? People in their classrooms are living, I would assume, if they're attending college or university, they must have a student visa. A person with a student visa that's valid has nothing to be afraid of. It's absolutely ridiculous. People are crazy. People are crazy. Oh, and this might make you feel better, Chris. Maybe this is a good sign. Chris from Europe here. And we're going to talk about BP really quickly, and that's British Petroleum. Associated Press article coming up. British Petroleum. BP to slash spending on net zero ventures. And we'll be focusing on oil and gas again. There's a lot of BPs in the United States. Gas stations. Gas stations. So here we go. Again, Associated Press. British energy company BP confirmed Wednesday that it would slash spending on green ventures and increase its oil and gas production, a change in direction that it hopes will bolster its flagging share price, but has been met with incredulity from the climate action campaigners. In a statement titled Resist BP, the company said it will reduce its spending on net zero transition businesses by $5 billion a year. By contrast, it said it would increase its investments in oil and gas production by about 20%, increasing it to $10 billion. CEO Murray Auchincloss, if I pronounce that right, said that the company is focusing its spending on BP's highest returning business to drive growth, and that it will be very selective in its investments in renewables. This is a reset BP with an unwavering focus on growth, long-term shareholder value. Quote. Basically, the company's going to do what it should have been doing in the first place. Instead of bowing to climate activism, it said we're not going to invest money in that anymore. We're going to back up from it anyways and put the money back into gas and oil production, which is what we should have been doing if we want to make any damn money. It says the strategy represents a pullback from the company's much vaunted plan 5 years ago under the CEO Bernard Looney to shrink oil and gas production in favor of net zero businesses. Bernard Looney. I guess he lived up to his name. Auchincloss told investors after the release of the update that the company's faith in the green energy transition was misplaced, and the company went too far, too fast in recent years. Demand for oil and gas, he added, will be needed for decades to come. He is right. I don't think, scanning ahead in the article, I don't know if it says anything about it here, but BP has also reopened negotiations with Iraq. Is it Iraq or Iran? I think it's Iraq. Reopened negotiations with Iraq to work on the development of oil and gas. Craig says if Trump forces EU to legislate free speech, we'll have the chance at our very own Trump. Good point. We want to stop all immigrants, but we'll get arrested for demanding it, like Tommy Robinson. I know they crack down pretty hard on people for speaking their minds these days. It's incredible what the governments over there have been getting away with. It's really been petty dictatorships all across Western Europe. Pretty good, pretty interesting. But there we go. British Petroleum walking things back. Walking things back. That's a good sign. That's a very good sign. And you all know how I feel about all of that. The electric cars, they don't work well, especially in cold weather. They really don't work well. They're heavy and they are dangerous, especially in a lot of the southern states where there's a lot of storms. Salt water can cause a lot of problems, including really, really bad vehicle fires. There are, again, mothballed fleets of electric school buses all across the United States. They don't work, or they're too unreliable, or they've broken down and can't be fixed. They have, again, on the East Coast, especially in New York, mothballed electric snowplows. Like anybody thought that was a good idea. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible that was allowed to happen. The windmills do not work. I had an extensive video on that on the grid. Windmills and, wind power and solar power, barely a drop in the bucket on the grid, despite having literally thousands of plants across the United States producing practically nothing to the grid. being almost solely supported by government subsidies, getting billions. I mean, as I pointed out, that's your corporate welfare right there. Everybody's always crying about corporate welfare. When you have a solar farm and it's costing taxpayers $2.5 billion a year, and that's like 96% of your income, that's corporate welfare. Okay? Seriously. Oh, and here's your next big scare. They're trying so hard to scare you with this. Okay? Newsweek article. Here it comes. Oh no, West Texas measles outbreak. First death of an unvaxxed child. An unpoked child died from measles in West Texas, officials said, marking the first fatality from the disease since 2015. Texas Department of State Health Services confirmed the death Wednesday, but did not disclose the patient's age. The school-aged child passed away overnight. It says measles outbreak in this rural region of the Lone Star State has become its largest in 30 years, with 124 cases reported across 9 counties. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed that this is the first measles-related death in the U.S. in nearly a decade. And this article goes on to blame the Mennonites by claiming that a portion of the people who currently have measles are Mennonites, but then goes on to tell you that a lot of them are vaccinated. So a lot of them are vaccinated and still have it. And does not tell you if that child is a Mennonite or not. Because I did read this one. It says majority of cases are 5 to 17 years old. Measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, which is recommended for children starting at 12 to 15 months old, with a second dose between 4 and 6, is highly effective at preventing infection and severe complications. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe, maybe not. And it warns you measles can hang in the air for up to 2 hours. And 90% of unpoked individuals will become infected, but it reminds you most people will recover, and that includes, it says most children will recover. The article doesn't tell you if that child is actually a Mennonite, a U.S. citizen, anything. Anything like that. And it mentions again, Newsweek, that a lot of Mennonites don't like doing that. And that I guess a lot of the 124 cases, several of those are Mennonites, but that several of them were indeed vaccinated anyways. And that's what Puck says. I wonder where the measles virus came from. Yeah, I want to know, was that child, you don't have to tell the name of the child or anything like that, but was that a Mennonite child? Was it a U.S. citizen? Who was it? Where'd they come from? Which is what We says here. When they allow millions of people into the country without medically screening them, what did they expect? They weren't screened at all. Period. And as we get close here, is this the right thing? No, that's the wrong thing. Let's go ahead and pull up the debt clock really quick and see where we are at. We'll pull up the debt clock and see where DOGE is really quickly. Favorite tool, new favorite tool, the usdebtclock.org. And DOGE is currently at $140 billion in projected savings. Again, really useful tool. And it does have a world clock, and it can show you every year at this time, all the way back to 1980 when they started the debt clock. So if you wanted to see where you're at, usdebtclock.org. Really interesting tool. And like I said, I think it's got the top 20 countries on here too, if you wanted to get some basics. But with that, we are at the top of the hour. So we will go ahead and start wrapping up. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk. And you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, and on Rumble at Coffee Talk 2. And that's Coffee Talk with the number 2. And again, special thanks to Bud Ugly, that's his username, who sent cat food to our P.O. box to help us with our shelter cats. Always appreciated. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation, and we will catch you again tomorrow.